You walk into a room, and the crying baby stops and stares. The stray cat approaches you and ignores everyone else. The dog at the park pulls toward you despite never meeting you before. You've probably dismissed this as coincidence, maybe even felt a little embarrassed by the attention. But here's what you need to understand. You aren't imagining it. This isn't random chance or wishful thinking. It's a signal. Animals and infants are reading something in you that most adults have lost the ability to perceive. Through the lens of Jungian psychology, we can understand that babies and animals perceive the world differently than conditioned adults do. While adults perceive the persona, that carefully constructed mask we all wear to navigate society, these innocent beings see past the performance. They perceive something closer to your authentic core, the truth, beneath all your defenses and social programming. And when they stare at you with that unsettling intensity, when they choose you over everyone else in the room, they're responding to something rare, something most people have buried so deep that even they can't find it anymore. This ability to attract the attention of creatures who operate purely on instinct reveals a psychological constitution that Jung explored throughout his work on personality types and individuation. It means your inner world operates differently than most people's, and by the end of our journey together, you'll understand exactly why this happens and what it reveals about who you truly are. Let's begin with the first revelation. Most people wear thick psychological masks, what Jung called the persona. This mask serves a crucial function in society. It helps you get along with others, maintain professional relationships, and navigate complex social dynamics. But for most people, this mask becomes so thick, so rigid, that it completely obscures their authentic self. Think of it like armor, layer upon layer built up over years of learning what's acceptable and what isn't, what gets rewarded and what gets punished. But you're different. In Jungian terms, you haven't merged with your persona. You haven't become the mask. Jung warned against what he called identification with the persona, where people lose touch with who they truly are beneath their social roles. You've somehow avoided this trap. Your persona remains transparent, porous. This isn't because you're naive or lacking in social awareness. It's because your psyche refuses to build those thick walls between your inner truth and your outer expression. Babies and animals rely entirely on instinct for survival. They need to quickly assess whether someone is safe or dangerous. And here's what becomes clear when we study their behavior. Masks hide danger. When a creature encounters a human wearing a thick persona, alarm bells go off in their primitive brain. Something is hidden. Something is concealed. This triggers their natural suspicion because in nature, concealment often means predation. Imagine walking into a family gathering where you haven't seen anyone in months. There's a 2-year-old you've never met sitting on the couch. Within minutes, that child is climbing into your lap while completely ignoring their own relatives who've been cooing at them all afternoon. Everyone comments on how strange it is, how the child is usually so shy, but you understand what's happening now. That child isn't responding to your words or your attempts to engage. They're responding to the absence of pretense. While everyone else is performing the role of doting family member, adjusting their voices, forcing enthusiasm, you're simply present. And that presence, that lack of rigid defense, is what the child trusts. When they encounter you, they sense something radically different. You are psychologically transparent to them. Your inside matches your outside. There's no hidden agenda, no concealed aggression, no mask obscuring your true nature. This transparency creates an immediate sense of safety. The baby stops crying because your energy doesn't trigger their distress response. The cat approaches because you don't broadcast the confusing mixed signals that most humans emit. You're readable, and in a world full of masked faces, this readability is magnetic to creatures who navigate through authentic perception. The second revelation goes even deeper into how your energy field affects those around you. People with high sensitivity, often called empaths in modern psychology, don't just feel other people's emotions passively, they participate in what modern science calls nervous system co-regulation, a concept that aligns beautifully with Jung's ideas about the collective unconscious. Your presence literally calms the chaos in other beings' internal systems. Jung understood that we all exist within what he called the collective unconscious, a shared field of psychic energy that connects all living things. Most people contribute noise and static to this field because their internal worlds are fragmented, conflicted, at war with themselves. Consider a narrative illustration that demonstrates this principle. Picture yourself in a crowded veterinary waiting room. Every animal is stressed, barking, meowing, pulling at their leashes. Their humans are tense, checking phones, avoiding eye contact. But when you sit down, something shifts. The dog nearest you stops panting frantically. Its breathing slows. Within 5 minutes, the cat carrier next to you goes quiet. You're not doing anything visible. You're not offering treats or speaking in a soothing voice. Your nervous system is simply functioning as an anchor point, and the animals around you are synchronizing with your calm baseline. This isn't magical thinking. This is how mammalian nervous systems work. We're designed to co-regulate, to sync with each other's internal states. But most humans are so dysregulated themselves, so caught in their own anxiety loops and stress patterns, that they can't offer this to others. You function differently. When an anxious baby is near you, empaths aren't broken, they're alchemists in progress. The Alchemist's Path gives you drills, Jung-based boundaries, and 3 exclusive chapter videos to turn overwhelm into clarity. By Surreal Mind, 236-page downloadable ebook, in stock. Begin now at thesurrealmind.com. Their dysregulated nervous system begins to sync with your calm one. It's not something you do consciously. It's an automatic function of your psychological makeup. You process and ground chaotic energy simply by being present. Animals sense this immediately. In the wild, survival depends on reading energy accurately. A nervous, chaotic human might suddenly lash out or make unpredictable movements, but you emit the energy of a calm anchor in stormy seas. Dogs, cats, even wild animals recognize this signature and are drawn to it because your presence offers them something they desperately need, a moment of peace in the overwhelming chaos of the collective unconscious. And here's what most people don't realize. This is exhausting for you. You're constantly processing and metabolizing energy that isn't yours, cleaning up the emotional atmosphere simply by existing in it. The third revelation addresses something most people don't even realize they're projecting, what we might call the predatory shadow. Jung's concept of the shadow encompasses all the parts of ourselves we've rejected, denied, or pushed into our unconscious. For most people, this includes unconscious aggression, neediness, manipulation, and an energetic quality that signals hidden agenda. This doesn't mean most people are consciously predatory, but buried in their shadow are unmet needs, desperate longings, and survival strategies that involve taking energy from others. We can see this dynamic clearly in a composite example based on observed patterns. Imagine someone approaching a dog at the park. On the surface, their intentions seem friendly. They're smiling, speaking in that high-pitched voice people use with animals, extending their hand. But the dog backs away, ears flattened, showing the whites of its eyes. The person feels rejected, maybe even hurt. But what the dog sensed that the human wasn't aware of was the energetic undertow beneath the friendly approach. Deep in that person's unconscious was a need to be loved, to be chosen, to feel special. The friendly gesture wasn't truly about the dog's well-being. It was about filling an internal void. And the dog, operating on pure instinct, sensed that neediness as potentially dangerous. Animals are experts at detecting intent. A dog can smell fear, yes, but they can also sense that subtle energetic quality that most humans unconsciously project into the world. It's the vibration of, I need something from you. I want to use you. I have an agenda. Even when people approach animals with seemingly kind intentions, if there's any unconscious neediness or desire to possess, control, or consume, the animal feels it and becomes wary. But your energy lacks this quality. You've acknowledged enough of your shadow that you don't unconsciously seek to consume others' energy. Jung taught that we can never fully integrate the shadow, that it's a lifelong process of making the unconscious conscious. But you've done enough of this work that you don't approach babies and animals with hidden agendas about what they can give you or how they can meet your needs. This absence of unconscious predation is rare among humans, and creatures who live or die by their ability to read intent recognize it immediately. When you encounter an animal, your energy communicates something radical. I don't need anything from you. I'm complete enough in myself that I can simply appreciate your existence without trying to take something from you. This is why the feral cat who runs from everyone else will sit beside you. This is why the baby who screams when strangers hold them will settle peacefully in your arms. The fourth revelation introduces a concept Jung borrowed from anthropologist Lucien Levy-Bruhl, Participation Mystique. This term describes the ancient primordial connection between subject and object, the state of consciousness where boundaries between self and other are fluid rather than rigid. Jung observed this as a characteristic of early human consciousness and infant psychology, a state where the separation between inner and outer world hasn't fully formed yet. Modern humans have largely differentiated out of this state. We've built fortress walls around our individual egos, convinced ourselves that we're separate islands in an ocean of other separate islands. This differentiation allows us to function in complex technological societies, but it costs us something profound. It costs us the ability to speak the non-verbal language of nature. You've maintained a thread of connection to this ancient way of perceiving, while you've achieved enough ego differentiation to function in modern society. You haven't completely severed the connection to that primordial web of consciousness. Some part of you still speaks the language that exists before words, the communication of energy, presence, and authentic being. When a bird lands near you instead of flying away, when a baby reaches for your face with complete trust, they're responding to this quality. You're not completely isolated in your individual ego. You haven't lost all access to the larger web, and creatures who navigate through this web sense something familiar in you. Let's explore what this feels like in practical terms. Imagine you're walking through a forest alone. Most people experience this as a human moving through a separate environment. Trees are objects. Birds are background noise. The experience is fundamentally one of separation. But for you, something different happens. There's a subtle sense of being woven into the ecosystem rather than walking through it. You might find yourself stopping for no rational reason, then noticing a deer 20 feet away, watching you with curiosity rather than fear. This isn't because you have special deer calling powers. It's because your energy hasn't completely differentiated itself from the field of connection that animals navigate through constantly. Consider what happens when a baby looks into your eyes. Infant development research shows us that babies are searching for their own existence in the reflections they receive from others. When they look at most adults, they encounter something complicated and confusing. They encounter an ego fighting for dominance, a personality performing, a mask hiding the authentic person beneath. This creates static in the mirroring process. The reflection they receive is distorted by all the psychological noise the adult is generating. But when they look at you, they receive something clearer. Your ego isn't fighting for dominance in the interaction. You're not performing or trying to get something from them. You're simply present, authentically you, without the layers of distortion that most people can't help but project. This clarity allows the baby to experience their own existence with less interference. This is why they stare with such intensity. They're not just looking at you. They're experiencing something in your presence that feels different from what they encounter with most adults. And this experience is profound, even at a pre-verbal level of consciousness. Here's a thought experiment that illustrates this principle. Picture holding a newborn who won't stop fussing for anyone else. The moment they're in your arms, they go still, eyes wide, studying your face with that ancient knowing gaze that babies sometimes have. In that moment, you're not thinking about whether you're holding them correctly or worrying about what others think of you. You're fully present. And in that presence, the baby finds something they desperately need. A moment of pure recognition without the interference of adult anxiety, performance, or agenda. They can simply be, and in that being, they sense that they exist. This is the gift of presence without pretense. The sixth revelation explores something that Carl Rogers called congruence, a concept that aligns with Jung's understanding of the relationship between conscious and unconscious. Animals react to micro-signals that most humans aren't consciously aware of. Slight changes in heart rate, pupil dilation, muscle tension, breath patterns, pheromones. These signals reveal your true internal state. And here's the problem most humans face. Their outside doesn't match their inside. They feel anxious, but smile and claim they're fine. They feel angry but maintain a pleasant demeanor. They feel sad but put on a happy face. This incongruence creates confusion in animals who are reading both sets of signals simultaneously. The verbal and non-verbal messages contradict each other, triggering the animal's suspicion response. But you possess a rare quality. Your outside matches your inside. This doesn't mean you lack emotional regulation or social awareness. It means you can't fake emotional states the way most people can. If you're at peace, it shows in every micro-signal your body broadcasts. If you're troubled, you don't successfully hide it behind a false smile. This alignment between your conscious presentation and unconscious state is what animals respond to. It's rare in the human world to encounter someone whose inside matches their outside. Most people are walking contradictions, broadcasting mixed signals that create confusion. Your consistency, your honesty at this micro-signal level, makes you trustworthy in a way that goes beyond conscious choice. Your body cannot lie, and creatures who depend on reading these signals accurately recognize this immediately. Consider a case profile that demonstrates this pattern. Imagine someone who prides themselves on being positive and upbeat. They've trained themselves to always smile, to always project cheerfulness, regardless of their internal state. When they approach a dog, their face is smiling, their voice is bright, but their heart rate is elevated from suppressed anxiety. Their shoulders are tight with tension they won't acknowledge. Their pupils are slightly dilated from stress they refuse to feel. The dog receives all these contradictory signals simultaneously and doesn't know which to trust. The result is confusion, wariness, sometimes even aggression as the dog tries to resolve the mixed messages it's receiving. But when you approach that same dog, every signal aligns. If you feel peaceful, your heart rate is steady, your muscles relaxed, your breathing deep, your energy calm. The dog reads one clear message across all channels. This human is safe. Or if you're feeling uncertain, you don't hide it. Your slight hesitation shows in your posture, your approach, your energy. And paradoxically, this honesty makes you safer than someone projecting false confidence. Because the dog can trust the information it's receiving. There's no deception, no performance, just authentic communication at the level of pure being. The seventh revelation touches on something deeply archetypal in Jung's framework: the wounded healer. Jung explored this archetype extensively, understanding it as the person who has suffered, faced that suffering consciously, and transformed it into a capacity to hold space for others' pain. You carry the energy signature of this archetype. Creatures in pain, whether physical or emotional, are drawn to you not just for safety, but for something deeper. They sense that you can witness pain without being destroyed by it, that your presence has a quality that makes suffering more bearable. Jung understood that genuine healing capacity doesn't come from someone who has never suffered. It comes from someone who has descended into their own darkness and emerged transformed. When a wounded animal approaches you instead of hiding, when a traumatized child seeks your comfort, they're responding to this archetypal quality that you carry. They sense at some instinctual level that you know pain, that you've faced it consciously, and that you have the capacity to be present with theirs. This isn't about fixing or rescuing. It's about offering a container where pain can be witnessed, acknowledged, and transformed through the simple power of conscious presence. But let's address the difficult truth that comes with all of this. Being a beacon for every creature and every broken human is exhausting. You didn't ask to be the person that babies reach for, that animals approach, that hurting people confess their deepest pain to within 5 minutes of meeting you. This psychological constitution that allows you to connect so deeply with creatures operating on instinct often feels more like a curse than a gift. Because while you're processing everyone else's chaos, regulating everyone else's nervous systems, offering everyone else your presence, who is doing this for you? The isolation that comes with this sensitivity is real and specific. You might find yourself thinking, why does the cat understand me better than my own family? Why can I connect so deeply with a crying infant, but feel completely alienated in a room full of adults? This isn't just loneliness. This is the specific ache of being fluent in a language that most people have forgotten how to speak. You're trying to connect authentically in a world that has built entire social systems on performance and pretense. The danger here is over-identifying with this role and losing your own boundaries. Jung warned about what he called enantiodromia, where your greatest strength becomes your greatest weakness when taken to an extreme. When you become so skilled at holding space for others that you forget you need space to be held yourself, you risk this reversal. You might start to believe that your purpose is to give endlessly, to be available to every creature that senses your light. But this path leads to depletion, resentment, and eventually the very disconnection from your authentic self that made you different in the first place. Think about how this pattern might play out in your daily life. You're at work, and somehow you've become the unofficial emotional support person for your entire department. People appear at your desk unbidden, unloading their problems, their stresses, their relationship drama. You listen, you offer that calm presence, you help them regulate. Then you go home, and your partner immediately starts venting about their day. Then your friend calls in crisis. Then you see a lost dog on your evening walk and spend an hour trying to find its owner. By the time you finally sit down, you have nothing left. You're so depleted that you can't even feel your own emotions anymore. You've given everything away, and there's no reserve left for your own healing, your own processing, your own needs. The baby who stops crying in your arms needs you to have boundaries. The animal that approaches you needs you to honor your own energy reserves. Because if you burn out, if you deplete yourself completely, you lose the very quality that drew them to you in the first place. Your calm can only come from a well that you protect and replenish. Your authentic presence can only emerge from a self that you honor and maintain. But here's where we shift perspective entirely. What if this capacity isn't a burden at all? What if you serve an important function in the collective consciousness of humanity? You are a bridge between the conscious human world and the unconscious natural world. Most people have completely severed their connection to nature, to instinct, to the wisdom that exists before language. They're lost in abstraction, living entirely in their minds, disconnected from the intelligence of the body and the earth. But you maintain a thread of connection, and in maintaining it, you serve something larger than yourself. You remind the collective that this connection is possible, that humans don't have to be completely alienated from nature, that there's another way to be in the world. The baby who experiences calm in your presence is learning that authentic presence exists. The animal that approaches you is participating in an ancient alliance between humans and the natural world. Your existence itself is a teaching, a demonstration, a living proof that this quality of being is still accessible. Jung spent his entire career studying what he called individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating all the fragmented parts of the psyche. Most people never complete this journey. They remain identified with their persona, unconscious of their shadow, cut off from the deeper layers of their being. But you, whether through nature or necessity, have made progress on this path. Your transparent persona, your acknowledged shadow, your maintained thread of connection to the primordial web, these aren't just interesting traits. They're signs of psychological development that most people never achieve. And here's the wisdom that emerges from Jung's work. Protect the gift. Don't just give it away. Your capacity to co-regulate others' nervous systems, to offer presence without pretense, to witness pain without being destroyed by it, this is precious. It's not meant to be given freely, to anyone who demands it. Jung understood the importance of what we might call psychological discrimination, the wisdom to know who is capable of receiving what you offer and who will simply consume it without transformation. Not everyone who is drawn to your energy is ready to do anything productive with it. Some people are unconsciously seeking to drain you to fill their own emptiness. Your task isn't to give to everyone. It's to give wisely, to protect your energy, to offer your gifts where they can actually create transformation. This means learning to say no. It means recognizing that just because a baby stops crying in your arms doesn't mean you're obligated to hold every baby. Just because an animal approaches you doesn't mean you must engage with every animal. Your sensitivity is meant to serve your own individuation first. And from that process, from your own increasing wholeness, you naturally overflow into service. But service from depletion helps no one. Service from wholeness transforms everything it touches. So here's what this all means for you moving forward. You are not broken for being the person animals and babies choose. You are not cursed for being unable to wear the thick masks that most people hide behind. You are not obligated to give your energy to everyone who senses your quality of presence. You are a bridge, a translator, a living demonstration that another way is possible. You carry something increasingly rare in a world that desperately needs what you have. But you must learn to steward this capacity wisely. The path forward is clear. Continue your own individuation process. Keep acknowledging your shadow, bringing unconscious material into consciousness. Maintain your transparent persona while developing healthy boundaries. Honor the thread of connection to the primordial web while living effectively in the modern world. Let your existence be the teaching, but don't exhaust yourself trying to heal everyone who senses your capacity for presence. Your primary responsibility is to your own wholeness. Everything else flows from that. The animals know something when they choose you. The babies respond to something most adults have lost. You are someone who hasn't completely severed the connection to what makes us human at the deepest level. You are a bridge between consciousness and the unconscious, between the civilized world and the natural world, between performance and authenticity. This is not a burden to carry. It is a quality to embody consciously, and the world needs you to do this not by depleting yourself in service to every need you encounter, but by becoming so whole, so integrated, so authentically yourself that your mere presence reminds others what's possible. If you are the one the animals choose, if you are the person babies reach for, if you recognize yourself in these 7 revelations, then accept this truth. You are the bridge, not because you chose it, but because your psyche maintains this capacity. Your task now is not to give this gift away carelessly, but to protect it, nurture it, and let it guide you toward your own wholeness. And from that wholeness, you will serve something larger than yourself simply by being fully, authentically, courageously who you are. In The Alchemist's Path, perception training for empaths, you'll turn overwhelm into wisdom with practical drills, Jung-inspired boundaries, and step-by-step perception training. This guide includes 3 exclusive chapter videos to deepen each lesson. Written by Surreal Mind, 236 pages, beautifully designed 8.5 by 11 downloadable ebook, in stock now. Start your training today. Feel deeply while thinking clearly. Get The Alchemist's Path at thesurrealmind.com.